Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Enhance Your World show. I am one of your hosts, Chris Alba. Thank you for taking the opportunity to be here today. Greatly appreciate it. Today is January the 2nd. It's our first episode this year. And I'm really excited to be doing this, to continue doing this, and to share some insights, some information, and answer any questions you may have about how to enhance your life. And the goal of this show is to focus on what we can control, which is ourselves, the way we think, the way we communicate, the way we behave, those types of things, and the effects that they have. So I'm really excited today about talking about the topic today of new year, new intentions. How does it work? There's in our culture, it's very common, right? New Year, oh, we got to do New Year's resolutions, and we got to do this, and I got to do this, I got to change this in my life, and I want better results, I want better health, I want better relationships, I want better wealth, whatever it might be. But how do we obtain those? And really, you can go to a lot of different teachings on this. You can go to, when I was in my 20s, I started in leadership development, and personal development, and and over the last decade have really took a deep dive into spiritual texts and spirituality and new age teachings and religions and things like that, to find balance in my life, because what I found in my life was, a lot of the doing actions, a lot of the personal development that's out there, goal setting, those types of things. They helped me achieve a certain result, but even though that I was getting results, what I was feeling inside wasn't fulfillment. It just kept moving the bar forward. I need to, I want to start this business, I want to do this, and I would obtain that, and then okay, now I need to do this, and it allows us to naturally grow externally through our actions, our behaviors. But what I found in my life was, a lot of times my subconscious programming, my subconscious conditioning, shadow self, however you want to look at it, sometimes when I wasn't being met with what I thought I was supposed to be getting, would react in a certain way, and that would help cause more negativity in my life, destruction, more chaos, more frustration, those types of things. So that's really when I took a step back in 2012, and said, okay, now I got to do something different. I've studied the successful entrepreneurs, the successful change makers in society, and in politics and religion, and all the public figures that we're aware of, and what can I do differently to yield different results, more meaningful results. And really, it comes down to intention, right? And if we think, more money, or more success, or a bigger business, or something outside of us is going to create the meaning that we're looking for, we're always going to be searching. We're in a form of addiction, of not enoughness, right? When we talk about abundance, abundance of resources, abundance of happiness and joy and contentment, happiness of walking with integrity, because it is also part of it. We all came here to experience life. We all have a purpose. We all have a place here on this earth. And part of our abundance is walking in alignment with that higher purpose. One of the reasons that, I'm excited about doing these shows again, and getting to do the things that I get to do on a daily basis, is that it helps allow me to walk in integrity with my mission, which is to help um, others, including myself, overcome whatever challenges, circumstances that are going on in their life that's keeping them from feeling that they are exactly where they're supposed to be in this moment. It might not feel or look or that type of thing as, oh, this is it, this is where I want to be. Well, life is never over, so even when we get to that place of saying, oh, I've got it, I've reached, and I've developed and created the life of my dreams. Well, guess what? You're not done yet. You're going to have to keep maintaining. You're going to have to keep growing. You're going to have to keep applying energy so those results continuously come back in. Because once we go, done, got it, figured it out, not going to need it anymore, we will be met most of the time with some challenges. We could talk about that with, substance addictions and, those types of things. And, there's some controversy about that, or some different things, about keeping track of your dates, of when you quit, and, you keep a record of that, right? So I quit drinking, around this time, this date. This was my last drink, or this was, I'm 90 days sober, I'm 100 days sober, or whatever it is. That does help the mind keep track of where we were, where we are, and where we want to stay. On the flip side of that, when we can move past that and just be like, yeah, it's not for me anymore, I've given it up, that's my intention. I know for me, I can't tell you the exact date. So when I quit being a cocaine addict, I know when I know that I haven't done it in about a decade, or over a decade. I haven't done cocaine since, before my son was born. And the one of the reasons that was one of my last times was, I was in a car accident and smashed my nose, and they were going to do reconstructive surgery. And I was like, I'm never going to, I know a lot of this damage came from my drug abuse. And so I'm going to have, all this surgery done, where they had to take pieces of my ear and cartilage and rebuild my nose, and, and then it's still crooked and, whatever. But, I knew that if I continued to do that substance, what that challenge that I was going to have to go, that surgery, that pain, the recovery, all that stuff was going to be for nothing, because I'd put myself right back in a similar position. So, and it wasn't healthy for me. It was not leading me to my best self. It wasn't allowing me, even though at the time I thought, well, it's helping me stay motivated. It's giving me more energy. It's allowing me to work more. It's allowing me to be more focused, blah, 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 blah. I had all the reasons why it was beneficial, but in the reality of it is, it wasn't beneficial. It was taking from me. It was taking from my authenticity, my authentic energy, and was creating an artificial self that was under the influence of substance. When I quit drinking in 2000, I think it was 16 or something like that. It was, I was walking on this spiritual path. I got Reiki attuned. I had an ascension, a series of ascension symptoms one day after meeting with some friends. I had one beer with them because we were at a brewery, and there wasn't any other options. And at the time, I wasn't, I would never have considered myself an alcoholic. but I did drink on occasion. And so I allowed myself to have a drink that night. I only wanted to have one. But because I knew I was in this detox cleansing process of going through my Reiki attunement. And I woke up the next morning with one of the worst headaches that I've ever had. I was purging from all areas, sweaty, just physical symptoms were terrible, but I had this beautiful peace underneath of it. And I was like, wow, like this is awesome. This is, I don't like this experience that I'm having, but I know that this experience is temporary. But what it did also allow me to realize was alcohol for me lowered my vibration, lowered, who I truly was, and it wasn't really serving me any purpose. So, I let that go with no problems, and haven't had a drop since then, and haven't even had a desire to. And it was also it was very similar for me. And this is the one thing about keeping track and maintaining, in your true authentic self was, I had quit smoking tobacco. And I never thought I would pick up another cigarette again. Most of my true, friends that have stayed with me through this version of myself and of this growth, when I told them that I had started smoking cigarettes again, they were blown away. They could not believe that I would do that. And that was a real big hit to my ego, because I had to start asking myself, well, why did I let myself down? Why did I choose to go back to a habit that isn't serving me? And at the time, it was, you know, I was in a very loving relationship. I was feeling awesome. Things were feeling great. She wanted to start smoking again, start using tobacco again. And, I wanted to support, whatever she wanted and, for herself. And, as part of that support, I said, well, I'll smoke with you, but I don't want to start the habit again. And then, as I had smoked a couple cigarettes, I felt all this unprocessed energy, of things that, I had really pushed away, and I thought I was healed from it, and I wasn't. And I believe that's what, was part of the reason why I continued to smoke, because it was teaching me something. It was teaching me about my self-love and about my strength and about those things, and that I can go back. We can go back to destructive habits. We can go back to good habits. We can go back to relationships. We can go back to anything, if we feel that that's the right thing at the time to do. And it's not until later, with hindsight, we realize, oh, well, that was a misstep, and now my intention, one of my intentions for this year, as the title is, new year, new intention, isn't to create resolutions, because for me, a resolution is very challenging, and the success rate isn't very good at it, very high, and those types of things. I never, had really good luck, or obtaining those resolutions, or maintaining those resolutions. I sold gym memberships for a short period, and like 80% of all people that buy gym memberships, the beginning of the year, they're not there 3 months later. They might still be paying for their membership, but they're not showing up at the gym. And from my personal experience, even when I was paying my gym membership, if I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't getting the results. And so the intention is, how do I want to be in this moment? How do I want to think? How do I want to feel? How do I want to behave? How do I want to be seen? How do I want to be remembered? What effect do I want to have on those that I love, and the community around me, and Mother Earth? And what is it that I truly want? Who do I want to vibrate as? And then it's up to us as individuals to create a plan of action, of energy, to bring that into realization. When I quit the first time of smoking, for me, I was meditating, and I would be visualizing in meditations of feeling better, and smelling better, and tasting better, and not having to spend and invest the money into the tobacco products, and having to sneak out for a smoke and feel uncomfortable, and all those different things. Like I visualized that over and over and over and over and over again while I was still smoking, and I was identifying myself as a non-smoker that occasionally smoked. Because if I knew I couldn't lie to myself. If I said I was a non-smoker and I was still smoking, then I was actually creating guilt and shame internally, unconsciously, maybe subconsciously, whatever. But it was gonna be hard to quit. And I started looking at all my behaviors that I was doing that were showing my self-love. I was working out. I eat a very clean diet. I take very good care of my temple for the most part, and the tobacco was causing me to be out of alignment with that. And so I was like, if I really love myself so much that I'm willing to go through the adversity and the challenge of not eating fast food, of not drinking soda, and not doing this or that or the other, whatever it was. I mean, because there's a laundry list of things that I was already doing. Then why can't I love myself enough to let these go? And when I phrased it that way, it got easier for me to let those cigarettes go. And, when those moments came up of where I had anxiety, or that edginess of like, oh, my homeostasis is under attack. My equilibrium, what I've known things to be, is out of whack, and I gotta I I want a cigarette, because that's gonna bring me right back to where I knew, and comfort and all that kind of stuff. I'd remind myself, like, no, the reason you're feeling this uncomfortableness is because it's your body healing. It's you rewriting neural connections. It's your body detoxing yourself from the chemicals that you were inhaling. And and just positive reinforcement, like, nah, man, you're doing the right thing for the right reasons. Just keep it going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it wasn't that challenging to quit. And it's kind of funny that I let that come back, right? Because I would never go. I don't foresee a reason for me to ever go back to drugs or alcohol, because I don't really care for those altered states anymore of myself. I don't like who I've become. I don't like not having some kind of control, and sometimes even being over caffeinated is a little much for me now. But the thing that I'm learning, or relearning, or unlearning, however you want to consider it, about being, using tobacco, is it's a choice. And if we want to invest in our future, we have to intend to do things and be differently than we've recognized ourselves in the past. And that's, that could be considered the walk of a mystic, which, I struggle with, labels and wanting to identify myself in any certain way, because I want to just be human, right? And I want to show up the best version of myself. And sometimes when we create personas and personalities and characters and things like that, sometimes we get stuck, because what's a mystic doing, um, working at a gas station, or doing whatever you need to do in that moment of time, to take care of yourself, your loved ones, grow, businesses or whatever it is. Sometimes those identifications that we hold of ourselves actually hold us back from actually seeing a bigger picture. So anyway, I've been really looking at the label, or the identification as a mystic, and it fits for me because truthfully, I think the only truth for me is my direct experience. Now, what I've learned from other teachers, other lineages of thought and knowledge and practices and things like that, has only allowed me to expand my awareness of my direct experience, to realize that it's okay to not be okay, and say, I'm not okay right now. I'm a little off balance. I'm a little tired. I'm sad. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Whatever it is, that acceptance, that acknowledgement, that acceptance creates an awareness that allows us to decide what to do next. What intentional thought, feeling, behavior are we gonna put our energy into to move us forward into the future that we want to create? Because tomorrow will never be like we want it to be, because we're always viewing it from today. And the point of the future is to be farther ahead, to grow beyond the confines of what we've experienced and know of the past and today. And the more creative we are, the more open-hearted and open-minded we are, the more we're able to evolve, grow, expand, whatever you want to say, be more enlightened, whatever, than we were 5 minutes ago. And this is the interesting thing. I won't call it funny, because it's sometimes very painful, but this is the interesting thing about relationships. If we don't share authentically, if we don't just open ourselves up and say, I'm feeling this way, I'm having this struggle, I'm having these repetitive thoughts, and share that with somebody so they can have an awareness of where we're at, can we grow? And vice versa. If we're not open to receive, if we're not open to hear where someone else is at, without taking it personally, without having to do anything about it, how can we actually have an authentic relationship? For someone to say, I'm not happy with you right now, and if you can say, okay, I understand. I'm grateful for your openness and willingness to share. I'm sorry that I made a mistake. I've made some missteps. I've made some errors. Now, how can I help repair them? Will a relationship continue to flourish and grow and expand and be more loving, be more accepting? I personally believe that we cannot be right or wrong, but we can do right or wrong based on the commitments and expectations that have been put in place. We can make missteps and mistakes, but by acknowledging, by accepting, by allowing that limited version of us, because by the time we can recognize it and be aware of it, we're already past that time and space. Then we can modify, we can shift, we can evolve, grow, whatever words, whatever language you want to use. You can modify and shift your energies of mind and body, right? And that in itself will change your outcomes, will change your situation, and it's like magic, right? Because magic and intention are, they really are part of the mystery, part of, I intended for this to happen. I got this result. The result is the magic. That's the unknown part that we don't know. We might have a good feeling about it. We might have a belief about it. We might, feel good about that, or, going in that direction. But we won't actually know our intentional action, how it's going to cause that future effect until we're in the future. And then by that time, you can't take back the original intention, except for to intend to continue on moving towards that direction. We've all been given a life path. We're all on the fucking path. I'm so overwhelmed with people talking about, trying to find their path and trying to find you're freaking on it. Take some responsibility and ownership and do what you need to do. Be what you need to be. And the consequences and the trade-offs and the rewards and the successes and all that kind of stuff is beyond our control most of the time. Right? Because it involves other people and other situations and things that are beyond our ultimate ability to control. We might be able to influence it with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our behaviors, with our commitment to being able to relate to one another, to hold each other accountable for showing up and putting in the effort, putting in the energy. Because, we can't get what we want without putting energy forth to bring it in. That's the law of attraction. I wanted to have businesses. It took effort. It took money. It took resources. It took time. It took passion. It took energy away from the things that were comfortable for me. It took time away from my family. It took time away from my friends. It took time away from creature comforts, hanging out and watching TV, or hanging out with my friends, or going for nature walks, or, we need to have that time. That's part of our self-care time. But when our self-care time takes more time, takes more of our effort and energy than what we're putting forth to go beyond ourselves, we will never be enough. We'll never be whole. We'll never create the results that we want in this world if we stop at ourselves. I am feeling really passionate about this right now. So I'm going to try to pull it back a little bit so I don't, misspeak on some things, because of my own subconscious feelings and belief that our culture is self-absorbed. And all this narcissism, and I'm an empath, and you're a narcissist, and then this is that, and blah, 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 and yada, yada, is doing nothing but creating chaos, nothing but division, nothing of separation, nothing about coming together as an unconditional loving humanity and saying, fuck this. I'm tired of seeing people suffering. I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of feeling disconnected. I'm tired of seeing so many being taken advantage of. And so we need to, as individuals, choose to stand up not only for ourselves, but for our brothers and sisters of humanity and say enough is enough. We need to stand up for Mother Nature. We need to stand up for our nature that we are a part of. We are a part of nature. We are animals that have conscious awareness that can create stories, create knowledge and information to be able to base everything that we do and have a reasoning and meaning behind what we do. And if we're not willing to grow beyond that, we're going to be stuck in the repeated cycles of what we've known in the past. So the question that I ask for you is, what is your intention each day? How do you wake up each day? How do you want to reflect on your day as you're going to bed and say, I put effort into myself, my dreams, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my, whatever it is. And when we can use our mind for those reasons, to be able to analyze, because that's really what the mind's for, we can see where we're meeting our expectations and where we're still out of alignment and we have work to do. And it's not about judgment. It's not about beating ourselves up. It's not about the shame and the guilt and, I know I should quit this, or yeah, I know I need to lose some weight, or I need to quit smoking tobacco, right? Or I need to quit drinking, or I need to quit being so defensive in my relationships. And learn that the only reason someone's speaking to us about something that we did was because they care, because of the cause and effect. It either affected us or it affected them. And that's why they're sharing it. And how we are able to listen and then implement new intentionality is how we grow forward into the future, the one that we ultimately want. I mean, I was having this crazy thought the other day and saying, our egoic self is our past self, because that's the one that we can identify with. Our higher self, the unknown version of ourself, is our future self. And when we're connecting through meditation or contemplation, or whatever practice you want to call it, and we say, okay, higher self, what's needed? What do I need to be, and what do I need to do now to move towards that thing, my highest self, my highest version of myself, highest frequency of self? Because you don't, Bashar, who's a channeler, was talking about the other day that you never, you feel like you're doing the roller coaster thing, right? And a lot of times people think, oh, well, I'm going down. Well, no, you're always doing this. It's like we're always growing, we're always evolving, because we're always moving through time and space time. So we never go backwards. We're always moving forwards, but we don't. Sometimes it may feel like it's a down peak, but that down peak is like the integration part from the new awarenesses. And what I mean by that, the integration is the effect. There's a saying that, when you go to the gym consistently, the weights don't get any lighter. You just get a little stronger. So they're easier to lift with consistency. And it is a practice. And, I'm not here to tell anyone who's right and wrong, what's the right way, what's the wrong way. That's the beauty of us all coming from a unified consciousness, is it all exists from the same place. And it's a different flavor. It's a different way. And if it works for you, man, and you're not causing harm, awesome. That's fantastic. Congratulations. My brother's huge into the recovery programs in Louisville. And, I can sit back from on my high horse and go, man, that's just another form of addiction. Like, look at how much you're self-sacrificing yourself. Not only for yourself, but to help other people, overcome their addictions. But that very point, congratulations on the fact that you're putting your energy into enhancing your well-being, your health, your wealth, your character, your legacy, your whatever. Congratulations for doing it, for making the attempt. Maybe it's not the way that I choose to practice, because I don't choose to practice to remember how long it's been since I've had a drink, or, I've done drugs, or, those types of things. I just know that they weren't for me anymore, and I let them go. Okay, they're out of my life. See ya. Now I don't need to keep score, because I don't want it up here. What I do need to keep up here is the reminder of why I don't want to go back to those things. That to me is self-love. This has been a great lesson for me in self-love and maintenance and care, going back to tobacco. Because I got to remind myself, and I got to hold myself accountable for my own choices, my own behaviors. And when I can accept that I'm doing something that isn't benefiting my health, my wealth, my whatever, all those things. I mean, we could go into it, right? If I'm not doing that, if I'm not putting my energy into what's actually being constructive, I'm being destructive. Maybe it's not a significant amount, but it depends, right? It depends on what we're talking about. And that's the challenge that, we see. I mean, we're bombarded with experts, right? Our social media is flooded with people giving you their insights and their opinions. And a lot of times they're not even theirs, because they listen to another expert that they like and they believe in, and they said it. So, oh, that sounds good. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to use that in my teachings too, because I like that. And it works for me, and it's beneficial for me. So I'm gonna use it. Awesome. But that doesn't mean it's the right way for somebody else. And that's the tricky part. As a coach, as a healer, whatever. And I say whatever, not that I'm dismissing all the stuff, that the training and all the things that I've gone through over the last, 20 some years. But the hard part is realizing that you have absolutely no control over anyone else or anything else. So you can give them advice. You can give them insights. You can give them your how-to. But if they're not in a place of where they're ready to surrender their old ways and intentionally integrate a new way of being, of thinking, of feeling, of behaving, then those results will never take root. And there's nothing you can do about it. As hard as you try, as much as you cry, as much as you plead, no matter how much you embrace, or the word that I was looking for there that just escaped me. Support, encourage, enable. That's what I was looking for. Enable. No matter how much you attempt to enable someone to shift into a higher version of themselves, you have absolutely very little influence over that. They do. It's their job, their responsibility, their path. We can walk next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. but they cannot walk for us, and we cannot walk for them. We cannot do for them. They cannot do for us in that way. And a lot of times when we enable and do for others, we're keeping them from learning the lesson that they needed so they could actually be that and experience that for themselves. And it's also a thing, you give them a lot of information, a lot of insights, awareness, and they don't implement that stuff, and then it doesn't work for them. They're going to blame you because you told them what to do. It's part of the ego not wanting to take responsibility for where they are in life. It's a great alibi, and I know I've done it a crap ton in my life. It's something I work really hard at not doing, but I still do it, especially if I'm emotionally charged, right? If I'm in fear, if I'm in pain, if I'm in sadness, extreme grief, it's easy to be overwhelmed and be dismissive in ways that don't benefit ourselves or those that we serve beyond our own being, which I believe that's our purpose. I believe we're caregivers of the planet, of each other, of ourselves. What if we gave care to one another instead of being caretakers, where we're taking from care from one another? There's a time, as a father, I can tell you, there's time where you have to take care of your children, and you have to feed them, and you have to make sure they're hydrated and clean, and all the things. But as they grow into more of their self, the less we actually should do for them, because the more that we do for them, the more entitled they will be. My son the other day got a gift card for Christmas, and the pin code thing that scratched off, he scratched too hard, so he couldn't see the number, and so the gift card was no good. And my parents told me his response to that was, well, it was only $20. And he's right. It's only $20. It's not anything to beat yourself up and be upset about and, hang on to it. And I can't believe I just wasted $20 and, all those things. I totally 100% agree with that state of mind. But also there's an awareness that $20, took effort and energy to obtain. If you're making $20 an hour at your job, that's 1 hour of your life that you traded for that gift card, and it was just thrown away, just used up, gone. Didn't get the the reciprocity of it, the exchange of it, the value of it, and it's gone. It's over. And, that's something that, I would like to talk about commercialism, is the energetic exchange about what we get, what we receive and what we give. And when those are out of balance, there's not a mutual reciprocity. There's not eine, as, they would say in some traditions, sacred reciprocity. Then we're out of balance. We're causing more harm than help, and we can look at what we're doing to the planet and say that our humanity is out of sacred reciprocity with Mother Earth, because we take more than we give. we destroy more than we create. And all we can do is create different intentions to do it differently. And what does that look like? Well, that looks like different things for everybody. For me, it means being mindful about how I use um, resources, and can I skip going to the convenience store and getting a plastic bottle of water? Can I skip that and wait to get home or to get to a place where I can get clean, fresh water out of without creating the waste of a plastic bottle, even if we recycle it? Because they say, less than 10% of the plastic that we recycle gets actually recycled. A lot of it gets sold off to third world countries, and out of sight, out of mind. Well, that's only going to last for so long. It's like taking dirt and putting it underneath the rug, or taking a dirty room and throwing everything in the closet. Excuse me. You know what I mean? Like, eventually it's going to overfill if we don't take care and intentionally clean it and then remove it from our way of life, from our energy. Our energy is actually what actually brings consciousness into form, right? If we're not consciously aware of it, then we don't know that it exists. So there's been a huge movement over the last 10 years of creating awareness, of sharing conspiracy theories, and sharing different versions of different teachings and truths. Because why? Well, the more diverse, the more varied, the more universal truth we find. If we're only living by what we know, we're always going to be living a limited version. If we're only living through vicariously what we've been taught, then we truly don't know the truth or the potential truth, because we've never challenged it. I'm very blessed that I was a child that questioned truth, even though it got me in a lot of trouble. Trouble, right? And got me labeled troublemaker and rebel and punk and all those things. I'm very grateful for those opportunities to have those experiences, because I got to know better. I got to learn better, actually, through experience. I was one of those people, and I probably still am to a lot of the degree, that someone says, no, don't do that. The first thing that I'm going to say is, well, why not? And, as a kid, I heard, because I said so, and I'm like, well, that's not good enough reason. I'm here to have my own experience, not to live through your experience. So I'm going to go do what I think that, I want to go do. And whether it paid off or not, I got what I was looking for. I got the reasoning. I got the meaning. My parents told me not to go out and get credit card debt as a young adult. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, because it's so hard to pay off, and you lose money, and da 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 da. And if you're using money that you don't have for things that you don't necessarily need but want, that could be very valid. But if you're using that credit to be able to expand your reality, and be able to invest into, some kind, into other things, whether it be people, whether it be a business, whether it be in education, whatever it is, well, then hopefully it's going to have a return on the back end, right? Like, why do people go to college? So they can get a degree. Why? Because they were told if they have a degree, they'll have a better chance of getting a better job, which is absolutely true. I don't have a degree. And I can tell you, when I was looking for a job, even though I'm very qualified in a lot of different ways, through personal experience, not having that college education was a big deal for people. Even though I hold professional licenses and stuff like that, it was very interesting. But it doesn't mean that I'm limited on my opportunities in life. It just means that I'm limited in the opportunities that are given by the system, because the system wants you to walk a certain way, so they have influence and they have control. And when you're a free thinker, and you're willing to walk your own path, and you're willing to do whatever it takes, as long as you're not causing harm, you're really freaking hard to control. And that's what the system wants to do, because that creates it creates a certain expectation and some kind of normalcy, whatever that is. People aren't going off and doing a bunch of radical things that could cause pleasure or pain. I was having dinner with some friends last night, and we were talking about the countryside versus the city. And it was like, yeah, I love living on 20 acres. It's the challenge is it is that peaceful, and there's so many things to do that you can be really distracted and not seem to get much done. And I apologize. I forgot to take off, put the comments on. Thanks, Mark, for your comments. Absolutely. People are always looking for their purpose when they're ready on their path, but you're telling the truth. They need to stop looking and take responsibility, and you're very welcome. Thank you, brother. He says, you've made my heart so full hearing you speak so much truth. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Very super grateful, man. Very, very, very grateful to be here. I've been in a really weird place over last year, because I had some things show up that I wasn't ready for. And it made me question everything I thought I knew. And I'm so grateful for it, because it gave me an opportunity to go back and be reminded of why I started this path over 20 years ago. Thank you, Billy, so much for saying that. She says, thanks. That has been my most substantial realization, that I can't make others change their lives. I can only listen and give advice. I'll use supportive energy, but I have had to stop feeling guilty when I couldn't change someone's behavior or habits, etc. Very good information to reflect on. Thank you very much for sharing that. And we all have awareness. We all want a better life. The question is, are we going to be responsible enough? Are we going to take the effort? Are we going to take the challenge? The challenge is going to take, the faith that it's going to take to step into the unknown? Or are we going to continue to do the same things over and over again, expecting different results? As I said, that's the definition of insanity. And we can look at our history from what we've been taught and see that's exactly the truth. I said this the other day, on one of the previous podcasts. One of the most surprising things for me to actually physically see was during COVID, when everybody was locked down, right? And not doing all the busy work that, us humans feel like we have to do every day, and how fast nature actually repaired itself. The animals were coming back, everything was cleaning itself up. Why? Because we weren't adding toxicity to it. So It's just constantly maintaining that level of abuse. And then when you stop that abuse, it's like, oh, okay, now I can heal. And that's why, in the the healer's journey, they talk about, isolation, being isolated. And that was what I experienced. This last year was my first year where I was not in a relationship. And so it gave me a lot of uncomfortable time to be with myself, which luckily for me, I enjoy that. I was used to having somebody in my life, but over the last decade, was very known for, just that, taking time for myself through meditation, through being in nature, taking myself out to dinner, or whatever. Not being afraid of not being with somebody. But I was married for 22 years, and I always had some company, always some reason to do things for, in my relationships. It's easier to help for me to take care of other people than sometimes it is to take care of myself, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not super hungry right now, and I can go without eating. I'll intermediate fast, or whatever. So it's easier for me to do that, because it's only affecting me. And while I'm making the choice, I'm also accepting the consequences of it. But when I think about other people, I'm like, well, I don't want them to go hungry. I don't want them to have a hard time, because they don't, they could go make it themselves, and they can, whatever, but that's a conversation. If my responsibility is to help bring food in, or help bring change in, or help bring whatever in, and I'm not doing my part, well, then they're negatively being impacted by the lack of my effort. And that for me is very hard to accept. Something I feel very guilty about is, and even shameful about, is the effects that I've caused certain people, places, things, because I wasn't aware at the time. And now that I have that awareness and the insight and the intention not to do it again, if they're still in my life, they'll get the opportunity to see the value of that. But if they've created this version of me of a lesser person, or someone that they don't want in their life, well, guess what? That reward will go on to somebody else. Someone else will benefit from it. And that's what I had forgotten. I can't force people to walk with me. I can only create the opportunity for us to walk together. And we're all responsible for holding each other up, for taking care of each other. That's the tribe, right? That's humanity. That's any relationship. And I'm very grateful for those in my life that, even when I was down, allowed me to be down, but they tried like hell to pick me up. And I'm like, you can pick me up if you want, but I'm going to lay back down, because I'm not ready to get back up yet. I have more processing to do. And that led me to where I am today, and I'm so grateful. And we're about to wrap up the show. So the thing that I'm going to leave you with, you want to leave some comments, in the replay, or, anything. What are your intentions for this year? Let go of the resolution. What is your intention? Who do you intentionally want to be? Who do you want to intentionally vibrate as? How do you want to show up in your life and the lives of other people? If you put that in the comments, maybe we'll chat and see how we can strategize and create a plan and some action steps, so we can work together to get you there faster, easier, more efficiently. Because that's what happens when we combine energy. the more energy that's involved, the easier the flow is, right? And you think of a river, and the more rapids there are, the faster things move through. Maybe at a more chaotic rate, but they move through faster than if it's a slow stream. But the slow stream is still moving things through. So, we get to choose the frequency, the vibration that we want to vibrate at by the way we choose to practice our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And with that, that's my show for today. Much love and gratitude for taking the time to sit here and listen to me chat and talk on my soapbox. And I hope there's some insights and some things that you gained, and I hope it's beneficial, because if not, then there's really no purpose of me doing this other than to hear myself think, which I can do that without having to get online. But with that said, much love and gratitude for all that you are, all that you choose to do, and all that you choose to be. Continue on, my friends. We are the change. Much love.